in November 1996, from Delhi airport, a plane took off for Saudi Arabia, headed for Dhahran. At the same time, there was a plane coming in all the way from Kazakhstan, piloted by a Kazakh pilot. And both these pilots, the Saudi and the Kazakh pilot, were in communication with the air control tower in Delhi. Now remember here, there are three individuals involved. One is an Arab citizen, one is a Kazakh, and the third is an Indian speaking from Delhi airport. Now, so Delhi airport control tower had to give them instructions to how to fly in order that they don't crash. Now, there is a rule in among international airlines that all communication has to be in the English language only. There is no choice allowed. So what happened? Was there some miscommunication? Was somebody's accent not clear enough for somebody else? Whatever happened, within a few minutes, the two planes collided into each other head-on, and west of Delhi, over Charkhi Dadri, 360 dead bodies and body parts rained one evening at 7 o'clock. It was a tragedy that could have been avoided. In fact, I have a simple faith in a simple old proverb which says, accidents never happen. Accidents are caused. Remember, when you see a traffic jam in Pune, when I see traffic jams in my city, Indore, I know that there is somebody going wrong. And that is why we have these road accidents. We have the highest number of accidents in the world. And you always find that there is somebody going wrong, there is somebody blundering, there's someone making a mistake, someone being a little less intelligent than he ought to be. In fact, the topic for today I've decided is intelligence. See, I have a little 4-year-old girl, a granddaughter, and I am always very excited to be in her company. She is the most exciting person in the world. And she must be having a lot of little dreams in her little head, but she doesn't know what's in the future for her. In a few years' time, she'll be faced with robotics. Would it be artificial intelligence? Would it be virtual reality? Electric self-driven vehicles? Nanotechnology? Now, this is how we are going to be living, working, earning, and spending our time in future. And will my granddaughter be able to cope with this kind of a world? Now, this is something that does worry me. What about the rest of the world's children? In fact, many years ago, when I had my own 4 children, this thought used to strike me always. As to, while they were growing up, everything was fine, but the world was changing so very fast. And by the time they grew into the age when they would be working, and they would be having their own children, they would be living their own lives, what would the world be like? You see, I have one strength in me, which is a result of 300 years of education in my family. See, when they first when they were converted to Christianity, probably in 1650 or so, we have a family tree. And almost every man and woman in my family has been either a teacher or a preacher or a professor in a college or the principal of a school or a college. And since we have had this advantage of education, every parent in my family, in fact, even today, every cousin of mine, the entire extended family around the world, everyone takes care of their children at home. They teach them languages. See, I went to a Tamil medium school because Tamil is my mother tongue. And so it was a principle in my family that everyone would do their education, would have their education in their mother tongue, at least in the beginning. For the first 8 years, up to 8th standard, I had my education in Tamil medium. History, science, geography, mathematics, everything in Tamil. But my parents ensured that we knew English at home. So they provided us with a small library of good reading material. So we were taken care of somehow. We spent our holidays playing word games, number games. My mother would take a notebook and write out a big word. She would say, "Superintendent, now try and make as many words as possible using the letters of this word." Now that would be a competition between my brothers and sisters, the 5 of us. And it would be fun. So we had fun with numbers, fun with words. And at the dining table, my father would be quizzing us on current affairs, on things around the world, about the planets and the stars. In fact, they would take us out into the compound regularly to look up at the sky. Fortunately, when I was growing up, we didn't have the idiotic television. So we were able to look up at the sky. Today, our children don't even know. Right now, there are 5 planets clearly visible in the sky, in the evening sky. And most Indians don't even know about it. It is a tragedy. In fact, we used to go look up. I used to, by the time I was 10, I think I would be able to identify about 6, 7 constellations in the sky. But we can't see today because of pollution everywhere. Now, our parents taught us languages. In fact, my mother knew Kannada because she had grown up in Karnataka. And I'm from Bangalore, by the way. And so we all learned how to speak, read, and write Kannada at home. It was not required in my school. And then my father put us in the Dakshin Bharat Hindi Prachar Sabha Hindi classes so that we could learn Hindi, which unfortunately at that time, it was just pre-independence and after independence years, when the Hindi which was being taught to us was Khariboli or the Munshi Premchand's kind of Hindi, which is totally out of use today. In fact, somehow I have managed my Hindi, although I live in the Hindi belt, and I have not had a handicap as a result of this. And later in life, I managed to learn Marathi and Gujarati from my colleagues wherever I was working. And so I have taken care of my language problem. In fact, my father always believed that the more languages you know, the more intelligent you are. In fact, he used to keep using the word intelligent. That was the most important word in my family. They wanted all the children to be intelligent. And so constantly there was pressure to ensure that we didn't do anything to reduce our intelligence. So all adults, I said, they play games with us. And we knew all the constellations in the sky. And this know-how I had brought along with me, and I had to settle in Indore for the sake of for health reasons. And I decided to start an organization there called The Genius, where I promised that I would raise the intelligence of the children who came to me. And I decided that the program would be for children from the age of 3 to the age of 18. The response was unbelievably positive. You see, parents always want either a babysitter for their children or somewhere where they could spend their time usefully. So here we had a large number of children, and within a few days, by word of mouth publicity, we had crowds of children coming in. In fact, I was very fortunate at that time. There were Hindu-Muslim riots in Indore, and so schools were closed for a couple of weeks. And so parents wanted, at least they could go in the evening hours to the Genius and sit there for 1 hour and play some fun games. Now, mine was a fun program because I personally believe that all learning must be accompanied by fun. You see, but one important thing that happened was that most parents did not believe that intelligence of anybody could be raised at all. In fact, I don't know how many of you are aware of this. You see, until very recently, the world of science believed that when you are born with a certain fixed amount of intelligence, and you do the best with it in your life, and you die with it. You cannot raise your intelligence. You cannot produce new neurons in your brains. Now, that has been changed. In fact, it was confirmed by science after much experiment on men and on mice only in the year 2008, that with every new learning, a new neuron is added to your brain. Every new learning. That is why they say when you learn a language, your intelligence is almost doubled because you have to learn everything in one language, now translated into another language. And scientists call this neurogenesis or neuroplasticity. Now, whatever that may be, that's a scientific term. I'm not a scientist. Now, the basic thing about my organization is that I decided that English would be our lingua franca for the simple reason that all our children were going to English medium schools, and in the Hindi belt, they really don't do enough to help children to develop in the English language, because you must be strong in the language in which you are getting your education. That is something which I very strongly believe in. In fact, this is happening to many of the other states as well, including Maharashtra. You see, because while we require our own regional languages to be strong, if our education is going to be given to us in a particular language, I think we should be strong in that language. We should be able to understand everything we read. We should be able to express ourselves in that language. And so I made English the lingua franca of my institution. And the future research and education of my children also is going to be in English ultimately, unless historically we now find a way to change that. And as I said, the element of fun was an essential part of it. It would be a 1 hour after school session for all the children. And in that, there would be 2 important decisions I took where there would be no examinations. So we wouldn't coach children for any school examination. And number 2, we said there would be no school teachers. I did not want qualified school teachers for the simple reason that school teachers believe in high levels of discipline and less of learning. And I wanted learning to go increase, but then I had no teachers. So how would the children learn? You see, 25 centuries ago, Socrates had come up with an idea called autodidacticism, self-learning. Now, much can be learned if a person takes it to his heart and works at something on his own. In fact, I have in this audience a couple of people who have been with me in my institution in Indore. So we decided that we would take young college students, first year, second year, and third year students, and we would train them to be mentors to our children. Now, remember the word mentor comes from a Greek word originating from the Hindi word, Sanskrit word man. Man, Manushya, Mantri. You see, the word went to Malay as Mandiri. Even today, they call their ministers Mandiris. It went to China, and they call it Mandarin Chinese. And that, again, is from the same root. And Homer took it and used it to create the character mentor who was a teacher to Telemachus, the son of Ulysses, if you read your Greek mythology. And so we call these young college students mentors, and they take care of the children. Now, one more problem there was in the Hindi belt, you don't get people speaking in English very easily. While we have probably a large number of expensive English medium schools, they call themselves English medium schools, but they don't use English. The DAVV University is not known for its English language. You walk into a management college and the director will speak to you only in Hindi. Now, these are English medium institutions, but unfortunately, they are not giving any importance to English whatever, and that is handicapping a large number of our students. I'll come to that. So we had to now get English-speaking mentors out of these colleges. And there are families which take care of their children, and therefore, we were able to get enough young people, boys as well as girls, from first, second, and third year, who are well-read, who speak English because the parents are supporting them at home, and who are able to conduct these sessions. And we gave them intensive training to ensure that these children are able to do these things properly. Now, what the mentors do is they stimulate curiosity. They have information sessions with the children. They have quizzes. They have brainstorming sessions, group discussions. They talk about Indian culture. They talk about the roots. We have children from different parts of the country. And we talk about various traditions. Every session, every day, we start with 5-10 minutes of singing rhythmic English songs. The reason for that is to be able to develop your enunciation, to be able to pronounce your words and say it with great clarity. Now, enunciation comes through good singing. Those of you who are aware of this, please promote this idea. And the result of what we were doing was like magic. Autodidacticism, that is self-learning, has now become the norm. The children are coming up with new ideas. They come up with new thought. They come up with innovativeness. Everything originating from them. The only thing is we are providing them a forum. We are providing them a flat platform, an environment, a place where children can think freely. They can be a little mischievous on my premises. And in fact, today I have 3 units in Indore. So we have 3 of the finest libraries in Indore as a result of that. Now, the reason for that is because I personally believe that reading is the most important thing that our children do. In fact, remember that reading enhances your vocabulary. It enhances your thinking skills. It stimulates your curiosity. And coming to curiosity, remember Leonardo da Vinci always used to say, curiosità in Italian is the most important thing for any human being. That's curiosity. And we are very successful in killing the curiosity of many of our children. So when kids come asking mommy something, mommy says, I'm too busy now, don't bother me, go ask daddy. If she asks daddy, daddy would say, go ask your teacher, she'll tell you better. My advice is, if there is some question you are unable to answer, please buy a book for the child or go looking for information elsewhere. It is your duty as a parent to satisfy your children's curiosity. You cannot let the child's curiosity hang in the air unanswered. You have to ensure that it is answered. In fact, talking about intelligence, now there are many other things which increase human intelligence, which we can work on. It's not difficult. One is learning musical instruments. Now, this is something which every parent ought to think of seriously. In fact, every child and every adult must learn at least one musical instrument. Remember, scientists have said that when they are observing your neurons, your brains, with electrodes, and when you're playing a musical instrument, when you're learning a musical instrument, there are little explosions that take place in your brain. The whole thing changes for you. You become much smarter as a result of being able to play a musical instrument. Travel does a lot of adds to your intelligence as well, because every new experience, every new sight, every new thought is one more neuron in your brain. Every one of us learns poems for our school or college. We learn speeches in order to be able to quote them. Now, every new learning, remember, mnemonics also add neurons to your brains. Gandhiji used to say that he used his right hand only when he had to write the newspaper which he was editing for the freedom struggle. He used his left hand to reply to those millions of admirers who wrote to him regularly. And he replied to as many people as he could personally. Now, ambidextrosity, that is when you make a body part learn something new, your brain is again adding to its neurons. There is something positive being done to it. Now, there are a lot of soft skills. In fact, I must tell the younger people here, develop your communication skills. Our country needs this very badly. Develop rationality. You have Dr. J.V. Narlikar, who lives in this very city. And he is constantly harping on the subject of rationality. There is nothing called an auspicious day. Every day is created by God. Every day is auspicious. There is nothing to be afraid of in a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse. Put on the appropriate glasses and go look at it. Talk about it to other people. Take children with you to see these things. These are the wonders of nature which we should not miss out in our lives. And before I end my words, I'll just a couple of points. First, to all the senior citizens who are here. I don't know how many, I cannot really see the audience clearly. But those who are senior citizens, very often doctors tell us that now you're getting older, so you may have to take some Neurobion or some medicine which they prescribe. They think that will do something to your brain. My advice is, no, go solve a crossword puzzle every day. Do a Sudoku every day. Do a cryptogram if you can. Keep your brain active. Teach somebody something. Pass on your knowledge to younger people. And you'll be able to make sure that you don't have any fear of dementia or Alzheimer's or anything of the kind. And if people are already having Alzheimer's, please start working on these things. You will find that you can get rid of that problem as a result of this. And where parents are concerned, those of you who have children of your own, you have to take two important decisions now at this very moment. One is that you will do everything possible to stimulate their curiosity. Keep children curious, asking questions, how, why, where, when, and find answers to them. Number two is the reading habit. When you go home this evening, ensure that you carry at least 2 books per child in your family, and make it a habit thereafter. It should be a recurring expense if you can afford it financially, that children have enough books to read at home. And read not only in English, read in your mother tongue, read in other languages if you can. Reading is important. Reading makes a lot of difference. In fact, in India, you can get a library science degree without ever reading a book. That is a tragedy again. It is very true of the whole country, and I think it is terrible. And where young people are concerned, now we have a good crowd of young people in this place. I must tell you one thing. Now, between the ages of 18 and 35 is your period of peak performance. Ensure that you don't waste any time whatever. If you're sitting in front of the TV watching some mother-in-law serial, remember that you are doing something negative. You're preventing something from happening to your brain. And if you're sitting in a bar with a group of friends drinking a glass of beer and whiling away 3 hours talking nonsense, remember you have wasted those 3 hours down the drain. And these are years when you have to be building yourself up, building up every characteristic of yours. And India requires people with high communication abilities. You know, we are unable to even discuss, negotiate, and settle a lot of international problems just because we don't communicate well enough. We have to become experts at communication. And I want all young people to work at this. You are also familiar with these facts. Only 8% of graduate engineers are employable today. Only 10% of management graduates are employable today. Now, what kind of responsibility is this of our professors, colleges, and principals? Isn't it something that they ought to think about? So you think about it yourself. Young people, ensure that you become employable by developing a whole lot of soft skills. Look up the internet, what are soft skills? And make a list of these. And find ways to develop these on your own. Take serious note of the word autodidacticism. Every one of you must become self-learners, and progress is yours for the asking. I wish you all the very best. Thank you very much.